Well, hello there YouTube, my name is Peter Stephen and welcome to my fourth review on the James Cameron series. Today we're going to talk about a little film called The Abyss. And that was a son of a bitch film to make. Did you know the film The Abyss is considered as one of the toughest shoots in film history? Not only did they have tons of issues on set, but an actor and the director nearly drowned. But we'll get into that a little later. So what's the plot about? A civilian diving team is in search of a lost nuclear submarine until they discover something very strange in the depths of the abyss. Let's talk about the characters. First and foremost, I'd like to mention that a little birdie told me that I should shorten this character section, and I absolutely agree. So I love your feedback, guys. Please give me more. Although we have a large ensemble cast for this movie, we have three main characters. So we have Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio, I hope I pronounced that well, Ed Harris and Michael Biehn. These two are on the verge of divorce but have to work together in order to survive. It's funny that when James Cameron wrote this script, he was on the verge of divorce himself with Gail Lan Hurd, who's a producer on this film. The beauty of the unconscious mind. And of course we've got Michael Biehn, who plays the antagonist of this film this time. He's dealing with high pressure nervous syndrome. And he's pretty subtle about it, I like it. First of all, this is how James Cameron is completely insane. He found an unused nuclear reactor building and filled it up with 7.5 million gallons of water. Yes, that is completely insane. This is considered as the biggest underwater set ever built in the history of cinema. His approach to realism is commendable and very admirable. However, at what cost? From all the interviews I've seen, it sounded really freaking dangerous, man. Guys, The Abyss is extremely well made. The set designs and the claustrophobic scenes are freaking fantastic. I felt out of breath. I was nervous for them. James Cameron has a natural flair for picking great actors and putting them in really tough and horrible circumstances. Although I'm wondering, were they really acting? I think they were reacting to everything that was going on around them when they were submerged with water or underwater. I think the actors were under a lot of stress, a lot of strain. They had no stunt doubles. They all did it themselves and you can really feel it in the movie. The emotional core, Ed Harris and Mary Elizabeth, is fantastic. There is one scene in particular when they're about to drown, and that is one of the best scenes ever because it's full of emotion, full of suspense and full of thrills. James Cameron excels at those kind of scenes and I absolutely love that scene. That scene made the movie for me. There were numerous issues on set. Remember, this is a James Cameron movie after all. For example, the first few days the water was too misty, so they added chlorine into it. The result of that is that people had bleached hair and lost their hair on their arms. This is what happens when you work with James Cameron. At the end of the movie, Ed Harris puts on a suit on with a helmet with fluid in it. Now, in the film, he's supposed to breathe this fluid, but they didn't do it in the movie, of course, so he had to hold his breath. So all the scenes you see him in the movie with that suit on, he's actually holding his breath. And that underwater scene when he's going down the abyss, that is actually real. He's holding his breath. It's insane what the production did to simulate him falling down. They tied him to a cable and pulled him and he had to hold his breath. So you can imagine the stress. At some point he was out of air and he couldn't do it anymore. But the dude that was supposed to look after him wasn't there. He got stuck somehow with a cable or something else. Some other dude came over and gave him the regulator so he could breathe. But he breathed in some water and some air. Actually, the regulator was upside down. So, of course, he panicked and in the end they managed to sort it out somehow. He's still alive, so that was fine. But that night, apparently Ed Harris went home and cried. He had a nervous breakdown, wouldn't you? That is insane, man. They're so 80s though, they didn't care. Even James Cameron nearly died in this movie. His assistant director basically went off on a coffee break. He was supposed to look after James Cameron's oxygen level, and of course he forgot to mention it. So James Cameron ended up at the bottom of the tank alone with no oxygen. You can watch all these anecdotes on this great documentary I watched on YouTube. I'll post a link down below. It's a blast. But this is a catastrophe. I don't know how he managed to make more movies after this, to be honest. What really bothers me about this film is that you have terrific actors, fantastic scenes in the sub and underwater, very tense and suspenseful. The three main actors, Mary Elizabeth, Ed Harris and Michael Biehn, are fantastic. However, you reach the third chapter of this movie and it's all about aliens. Suddenly it turns into a Spielberg film and it seems completely out of touch with what James Cameron usually does. Now, I am very aware that you have a theatrical release with a random ending about aliens just saving Ed Harris. It doesn't make much sense. And then you have the extended version of this film, which makes a lot more sense, especially regarding the aliens. They have an extended scene with the aliens, and it makes a lot more sense. However, I did feel it was a little patronizing and condescending. Oh, humanity is evil, aliens will teach us a lesson. Come on, I've seen that a million times, and I'm kind of tired of that. You know, let's have a little hope in humanity. I was very happy just seeing those characters struggle in the submarine and underwater and trying to find this nuclear submarine. I absolutely loved that stuff, and that was, to be fair, mainly 80% of the movie. But then, when you've reached the final chapter, it became this moral tale all of a sudden, and I couldn't be bothered with it. This is a great movie though. Like, if you skip the alien part, this is a fantastic thriller, and I loved it. I really recommend this movie, especially the extended version. I highly recommend it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Please like, share, and comment. You can find me on Twitter and Facebook at Kritikeyes, and I shall see you very soon. Alright?